So many people kept coming up and telling me they were stuck. People would say, I'm working harder than I ever have in my life, and I seem to have stopped growing. You know, my business, when I launched it, it took off, and now I'm working double the amount I was when I launched it, and it's just not growing at the same speed anymore. So we sat down and said that, you know, there's a list of things people are not doing or are doing that they shouldn't, that are the reason they stopped growing, and we wanted to help with that.
Yes, exactly. And I'm honestly, I'm one of those people. I was, even 6 months ago, I had areas where I was struggling in and trying to figure out, man, what am I missing here? And realizing that I was just too integral into the process and into the business, and I needed to remove myself and empower the other people that were working with me to take over and take control of those other things. And that's been probably my biggest change in my company over the last 6 months.
Most people don't realize that they are the bottleneck. You're not the boss, you're the bottleneck most of the time. And until you can get out of your own way, and build a team and empower people and surround yourself with people smarter than you, you never really get that explosive growth that people want.
That is such a good point. You are the bottleneck. Yeah, you're like, man, I don't understand where it's slowing down. And for me, I have a natural gift of sales, and I kept having to go back into the business and in the processes that weren't where they needed to be, and keep putting out fires, and it kept pulling me away from sales. So I was having that up and down, roller coaster of sales momentum,
right.
And it was driving me nuts. I'm like, what do I have to do to get this to stop doing this? And so that's what I've been focusing all my energy and attention on within my own business, is making sure that those fires don't continue to happen, that I have the right people that I can trust to handle those things, so I can just focus 100% of my energy on sales. Because if I do that with my God-given gift, I can generate $50,000, $100,000 a month, or maybe even more in sales from apps and all those things. And
sure.
And that's huge growth for the business, compared to sitting down and doing a graphic design piece for someone for $50 to $100 an hour or more. It's like, if I'm out there selling, I'm generating like $1,000+ an hour for the business.
I have a sign on outside my office that says, your ideas are welcome here, but execution is worshipped. Because everybody rings my doorbell with an idea, and very few people do something. It's all in the execution. Quit talking and go build something.
Heck yeah.
Even if you don't know, just start.
Just start.
Once you start, you'll start figuring it out. You'll see where you were wrong, and people will help you. But until you pick up the shovel and start digging, nothing happens.
Yep, fear debilitates a lot of people from going after their dreams. It's crazy. So that's not of the right place. So we want to make sure that we're focusing on love and passion and all those things that are going to bring them joy in their life. And there's so much freedom that comes from entrepreneurship. I know the hours are crazy, but I've lived such an amazing life over the last 12 years of working for myself. I couldn't imagine it being any other way.
Yeah, and that's really, people ask me, why did you ever decide to be an entrepreneur? It was never about money. It was always about freedom.
Mm-hmm.
The freedom to design your day, your life, and your future. Practice at the top of your license. And let me tell you what practice at the top of your license means. I was visiting a friend who actually became a surgeon. And when I went back, he was sitting in his office, and he'd been in there a long time, and he was irritated. I said, what's wrong? He said, I can't get this new appointment scheduling system to work under this version of Windows. I said, what? When just curiosity.
Yeah.
When does your business hum? When does it make the most money? He said, well, when I'm doing surgery. I said, so what on earth are you doing in your office working on a Windows scheduling platform?
Seriously.
You have a license to practice medicine. And he said, right. And I said, you should be using that license. You should be doing surgeries, and you should have someone else in here that works on Windows scheduling systems. And that really struck me.
Get the engineer.
Every time I see people, right, what is the top of your license? What is the thing that your business benefits the most from? One guy told me, it seems whenever I'm out of the office, I close 1 million sales. When I'm in the office, I get nothing done. I said, then get out of the office. I tend to get my more personal inspiration and energized from non-business books, right? Sometimes I read them just to refresh my perspective on why. Why are we doing this, right? Because, I work hard to run profitable businesses, but I have never been a materialistic person.
Exactly.
And then I discovered that if your business does well, right, then I can actually do something with that. So making money is not a bad thing, but it wasn't my driver. So I had to keep refocusing myself on certain books like that. But I will tell you, recently I reread Vern Harnish's book, Scaling Up. And yeah, I love his book. I like him, and the way he approaches everything. He's a real good friend. But that was one. If people haven't read Scaling Up by Vern Harnish, that's one I reread recently, and it just reinfused me with a lot of the right things to focus on. What really matters if you're trying to grow your company.
Can AI mimic creativity?
I've been thinking about that since you mentioned that before. I do, I'm going to say yes and no. Probably not creativity, but it can do some things better than us, which is really, really important.
Wow.
If you think about it, I'm going to give you the example, and we'll take the example of something like Watson, right? The IBM hardware and software. And if you think about going to, because I actually met with them, and I looked at a project between Watson and the Cleveland Clinic, the hospital, and here was where AI just has an edge. You go into your doctor and you say, I got this, I'm going to make it up, weird pain in my neck, and it's kind of red around there. And the doctor says, quote, I've never seen anything like that before. And he talks to the two doctors he work with who don't know anything, and he may or may not go online, and he may or may not research some level of things before he reaches a conclusion. Now you go to an AI doctor like a Watson. Not only does it have computing power and data attached to it, but it's programmed so that it looks at probably 3 million medical records in the next hour to see if anything anywhere on the planet Earth ever looked like that. It correlates them all. It corroborates them all, right? It does some analysis, and it comes back and says, I looked at 3 million people, I'm pretty sure it's this. You're never going to, your doctor is just not going to be. No. Now, I'm not talking about all things. There might be some things that your doctor would notice that, a machine never would, like the way you were walking when you walked into the office. But still, there are areas where AI, we need it, and it'll do a better job in this. There are areas where AI just, would not. One of my favorite moments of thinking about that, by the way, I was watching a movie. I don't know, you might not have seen the movie. It was a couple of years ago. It was called Red Tails, and it was about the Tuskegee Airmen.
Oh, yeah. I didn't watch it, but I heard about it.
Okay, great movie about our black Air Force pilots who got no respect and no credit.
Yep.
But I went in honor of them to watch it, but let me tell you what happens. In the movie, there's a part where they're outmanned fighter planes, and they're in an air-to-air combat, and if you were AI and you assessed everything, you would just go home, right? Because no path gives you a chance of victory. But what the guy did, you asked me, can AI mimic creativity? And here's where I'm going to say no. What the guy did was something completely insane, completely unreasonable, and it was so crazy and creative that it fried all the circuits of the enemy fighters. He just turned around and flew straight at them. Even though there was one of him and many of them. And on the radio, the other guy whose plane was wounded was going down. He said, that's insane, that's suicide. You can't fly straight at them. And he said, right, and none of them will be expecting that. He said, it's so crazy. And so the Japanese pilots, which are in that movie at that time, I think it's Japanese, they're all saying, what is he doing? What is going on? And at the time they're confused and trying to process the information, he defeated them all.
Wow.
So human beings have a creativity level that is not always logical, is sometimes emotional, and sometimes that's exactly what we need.
Yeah.
AI has a data level and research level that human beings are just never going to catch up with.